Hello, welcome to WD18, the Watford fan channel. Welcome to another video. Thanks so much to everyone who's joined us tonight. Great lineup on show. Mr. Charlie Zazzera, first off, how are you, mate? You okay?
I'm good. It's been a tough weekend for football. Obviously, of Watford yesterday and more heartbreak with the Lionesses this morning. So
yeah,
I'm really gutted with that. But it's just what part of being a football fan, isn't it? It's just a regular. So I'm looking forward to a bit of therapy now, and hopefully everyone watching will find it therapeutic as well. But I'm excited for this one. Got a good guest on with us.
Great guest. Do you know what? I was just going to say on the Lionesses, I think it hurt more because the expectation for the Lionesses is a lot higher than Watford. So I don't really get my heart broken by Watford that often, only when we're really good. But the Lionesses, because they've been so good over the last couple of years, bit of a tough blow. Andy, mate, how are you? From the Hornets' Nest, one of, I'm not going to blow smoke up Andy's backside too much, but one of the best Watford accounts on Twitter. And I do really recommend you check his stuff out. Andy, mate, great to have you back on. How are you?
Yeah, good to see you, man. Thanks for inviting me on. Doing well, thank you. I'm enjoying the start of the new season. You know how it is. You have a miserable 10 months of your life, like last season, and you can't wait for the season to end. And then come June, July, you're like, oh, I feel a bit lost at Saturday 3 o'clock. I want it all to start all over again. So I'm happy the season started. Obviously, yesterday was a bit disappointing, like Charlie said this morning. Wanted our sort of morale boosted on our weekend, kind of fixed by the Lionesses. Sadly, obviously wasn't to be, but a time for a bit of catharsis, I think.
Good man. To be fair, one of the highlights of yesterday was actually bumping into Andy pre-match, and then it kind of went downhill when we kicked off. First things first, thanks to everyone who's joined us. Make sure you do leave a like on the stream if you go on to enjoy the video. It really helps us out, pushes the video, and make sure you do subscribe to us as well if you're new. There was a comment just to kick off tonight, Charlie, from Will Hunt. Charlie, I believe I was next to you at the end of the game yesterday, and you gave me a bit of a side eye as I booed the players. Passion was flying high.
Will, that might be
VAR on that, mate. Is that?
No, Will, thanks for calling. That could well be true. I did actually change seats at second half because there was a couple of gentlemen who were not pleased with what they were seeing and very angry, which I thought was a bit harsh. So I'm sure we'll get onto the booing, but Will, you should have said hello, mate, and we could have chatted about it, but nice to see you.
Great stuff. Surin in the comment section, good to see you. George, we'll get to your comment in a moment. Ian as well. Evening, everyone. Disappointing result yesterday, but without this new number 9, I fear more to follow. Strange that we look tired after only 3 games of a 46-game season. Now, look, Andy, first off, 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss. How are you feeling about Watford at the moment, in general? Not just yesterday, just in general from what you've seen so far.
Do you know what? I'm actually feeling all right. I think if you had said to me before the season started, 3 games in, you're going to have a decent home win, a draw, and then a defeat on your first away game of the season. But also coupled with that, 2 clean sheets and a sort of sense of identity on the pitch, and seemingly that I've perceived a bit of togetherness as well. You know, we saw it yesterday at Stoke, but also against QPR when there was like a player went down. All of the team went to speak to Val in the dugout, and it just felt like the players actually want to play for each other, and that the communication is a bit better already than last season. So that's really pleased me. I'm not expecting big things this season, to be perfectly honest. I would have been happy with, or I will be happy with, sort of a top half finish, pushing the playoffs, but with the same manager in the dugout and that continued sort of sense of identity, and a team that I can just relate to and that I can feel a bit connected to, because that's kind of been missing for me since 2019. Yeah, I think it's been the same for a lot of fans. So I'm relatively pleased. Obviously, I'm disappointed with what happened yesterday, but we're not going to win every game. It happens. So I'm feeling all right at the think
Good man.
Ask me again in a month.
I'll ask you that Leeds away when you spent the day trekking up Teller Road. That's when you know, wow, questioning life choices. What I would say about that take, Charlie, is, I feel the same as Andy. I know you've said before about that sort of connection between the players. I think one thing that stood out for me yesterday, which I haven't seen from a Watford manager in a while, is actually having a team talk in the middle of the game. And I can't remember the last manager we had, probably since Javi, who's actually tried to actively influence the game while it's going on. Val's going ballistic in his play, particularly in the first half. He said post-match he wasn't happy with it. Second half, yes, there's a bit of an improvement. The goal came at probably the worst time. But are you really complaining about a lot at the moment? Are we looking at little margins, or is it the bigger picture with Watford?
Yeah, I echo what Andy said. I'm relatively pleased. When I speak to other people outside of Watford and I talk about results and stuff, sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, we've done pretty well, and we'll lose or something like that." Like, what are you talking? It's Stoke away. But I think last couple of seasons the bar has dropped so low, and there were so many times where we didn't see a team at all. We didn't see effort, which are the non-negotiables and should be the bare minimum. That when we're actually seeing it, I see it as an improvement. So yeah, it's not ideal losing to Stoke. I didn't think Stoke was amazing, which was probably why I was frustrated. I think it was the worst we've played out of our 3 league games this season.
Yeah.
But there were positives, which I'm sure we go into it. And as for Val, I think he's being proactive. He's making changes early. I think maybe one change I disagreed with, but he's done that a couple of times, bringing the players over, trying to influence it. Porto said in the interview that the club put out that he put a rocket up him in the second half, and I think they did respond. So yeah, although not a good result, I was relatively pleased with how they responded, and hopefully we can respond again against Blackburn in front of our home crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. Will in the comment section. Val is different in the sense that he's much more active with the substitutions. He was right to take certain players off, like Loser, who could sometimes disappear in physical games. And Tony makes a great point. Hi, guys. Good to see you, Tony. Putting a positive spin on things. Burnley started just like us after their first 3 games last season. 1 draw, lost. Come on, you ones. Lovely way to put it. Stoke. First off, not a lot there. I have to say, when I got there, I was like, where's the town centre? It turns out it's about 45 minutes away. Andy's the king of away days. Where do you rank Stoke?
Yeah, I was surprised when you told me before kickoff that you'd never been to Stoke before.
I haven't. Do you know what? It's the Kike game that I really regret not going to. When Abdi scored. Great limbs. Sorry, carry on, Andy.
No, that was an amazing away day. Yeah, funny you say that. I was thinking yesterday, before I travelled up, like I've been to Stoke, I think 5 times.
Yeah.
But I've never actually been into the centre of Stoke, because usually I'll either drive or on occasions like I've caught the train, but then there's like for the 2015 game, we got taken on like a coach to, I think, just a bar for the Watford fans to then get a shuttle bus to the game. So I didn't actually see the town centre, and I thought, I've got the whole day, go up, see what Stoke's like. And then I Google Street Viewed it, and like, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I changed my plans. I thought, right, I'll just go to the ground. But in terms of away days, it's not great. I think away days, I think, are always better when the ground's in the town centre and it's a short journey from the train station. So like Newcastle's an amazing away day because the ground is 10 minutes from the station, right next to the town centre. You're up in the gods at St James's Park. That is my favourite away day. And I'm not a huge drinker anyway, so I don't really know what the pub scene is like, but it's just in an industrial estate. And I think that just takes away the beauty of a football ground. That's one thing I love about supporting Watford is it's 10 minutes from the town centre. It's surrounded by pubs and like local community. I love grounds like that. I hate soulless grounds. I live in Reading, Oxford, sort of between the two, and the Medeski, it's not called that anymore, but it's again just in the middle of a retail park, just in the middle of nowhere, and it's horrible. It just makes your club feel a little bit soulless.
Just to jump in there, Will in the comment section has gone classic 2000 stadium in the industrial park. Felt like Reading up north.
100%. Yeah, Will is spot on there. It's the Reading of the North. And it's so windy as well. Like I got out of my car and it honestly felt like there was a hurricane blowing. So I don't know if that's just Stoke because
it is.
I've been to like Manchester and like Liverpool and it's usually fine. But every time I've been to Stoke, it's just gale force winds. In terms of away days, it's not the best.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's not the best. And it wasn't made much better. Lovely segue. Wasn't made much better by Watford. Charlie, look, I think you mentioned the way Val talked about the game afterwards. What I would say is I like his interviews because he just kind of cuts the BS. He just goes straight to it. And Porto did the same as well. First half, is this a fair reflection? First half, pretty poor. Second half, we had a good 10 to 15. Goal was a great goal. Came just when we were starting to kind of get our momentum and rhythm. And then we sort of ran out of ideas.
Yeah, I think pretty bang on. Like I said, that was my main frustration, that I just thought there were two average championship teams. It felt very much like a championship away day where you're hoping if you're playing badly, you can nick something towards the end. But I could not have seen us dominating the game because I just didn't think we were playing good. I think we struggled to impose what we have done pretty well against Plymouth and QPR, that identity that Andy talked about. You didn't see many inverted fullbacks. We felt, and that was something similar at Stevenage as well. So I don't know if it's a away thing, but it felt like we struggled to impose ourselves, play our way. I think Sierralta was a big miss. I think there was a bit of a difference. I don't know, because he's been playing as that full six for a while, and Jake Livermore's coming. It just felt very much like a bit of a stodgy 4-3-3. But yeah, first half was not good. Second half, annoying that we conceded, but I thought we responded well after that. Just
on the six. Yeah, I agree, mate. Just on the six, Livermore looked a little bit leggy, I thought. I mean, I don't know how quickly we can judge him just based on fitness-wise. What interested me, though, was when Kiembe came on. And I actually think, look, I'm going to put it out there. I think he's the best option we've got in that position, personally. Like, I think Sierralta. Yeah, I honestly believe Kiembe on the ball is the best we have in that position. And also, I think he just protects the ball quite well. I think Sierralta's good in maybe a game like that where it is going to be a physical battle. There wasn't a lot of great play, I don't think, from both sides. I don't think Stoke were particularly good. If we're being completely honest, they just took their chance well. But Andy, just on sort of key players that stood out for Watford, were there any that were particularly good or particularly bad that you thought they need to be talked about?
So, I definitely agree with Charlie. At half time, I was really missing Sierralta in that role. I think I take the result with sort of like a pinch of salt because it's the first away game of the season, and we can't play with that intensity. I think for every single game. They're humans, not robots, so it's gonna happen. But I don't think Livermore sort of dropped back to help out the defence a lot. I think we saw a lot of hoofball in the first half, which was disappointing because we know we can play out from the back. So the first half certainly was disappointing. In terms of personnel, I thought Hoot again was excellent. He's really impressed me so far this season. I feel strangely confident in our sort of centre back pairing. What really frustrated me last season when Wilder came in was him sticking Cathcart in between Porteous and Hoyt. And it really bugged me because that communication between the two just seemed to then just falter with a man in the middle. And there just didn't seem to be that sort of teamwork. So now that they're back sort of together, it sounds like Rachel and Ross in Friends. Like we were on a break and now they're back. So I'm glad that's the case. And they seem to have a really good partnership. Obviously, you can see our first goal yesterday. That's going to happen. It was a decent strike, to be fair. So he stood out again for me, and I think Kiembe when he came on was pretty good. I was surprised Ince came on and played out on the right and didn't come on for Bayo. I'm surprised Bayo got 90 minutes, all honesty, and the switch for when Martins came off and Bayo stayed on. I would have liked to have seen Martins and Asprilla out wide together. I think so. That would be my only sort of complaint in terms of personnel.
Yeah, it's the one thing that struck me yesterday. I agree with Andy there. One thing that struck for me, Charlie, was actually on midfield. We lacked playing through the midfield quite a bit. And I know, as Andy said, we'll touch on Bayo because I think that number 9 slot is just the talking point with Watford fans at the moment. But the midfield, which was so good against QPR at playing through the thirds, and whether that was against QPR, I'm not too sure. But we played through the thirds. It was really nice build-up play. There were patterns of play that were clearly worked on. I think you then saw it against Plymouth. Maybe not to the same extent, but there was patterns of play that we saw. Yesterday felt like we looked at Stoke, saw maybe the conditions, a little bit of wind or whatever, and we thought, I don't know if we're going to be able to play our sort of game that we've played in the last couple of games. And the midfield, I have to say, I mean, one of the quietest games I've seen from Loser. As you say, Livermore looked leggy. Tom Deli-Bashiru was anonymous in that first half. And the fact of the matter is, the fact that he had to make 3 substitutions says all you need to know about the sort of midfield setup. What did you make of the way that the 3 kind of worked with each other? Because it wasn't the same, I don't think, as the other games.
I think Andy was spot on what he said when he said he thought there was too much hoofball. We were too direct, and the midfield kind of got bypassed. Like, it wasn't, maybe Jake Livermore got caught on the ball a couple of times, but I can't remember like glaring mistakes from Loser and Tom Delira. I actually Loser so early was a bit of a mistake, because I do think we lack quality in the final third, and who's going to score our goals? Loser's one of the only few players that we've got who I think has got ability in and around the box or from a potential free kick. So I don't necessarily blame those players. I just blame how we played, and I think we didn't have confidence in our style, and I think that's got a bit to do with the fact that Sierralta wasn't playing and wasn't moving from centre back into midfield, or inverted fullbacks didn't come in. It just felt like we just went away from what we built up so well against the QPR and Plymouth game, which is a big shame. So yeah, I don't think individually the players had that much of a big game. I just think maybe as a whole we didn't play, we didn't get the ball down, which I think we've got the players that really could have done damage against Stoke.
Just to add to that, Charlie, you mentioned about the plan B away from home this season. So you went to Stevenage and Stoke. Is that a slight concern? The fact that we aren't really adapting to that physical element of other teams?
Yeah, you know you're in trouble when Steve Evans is tactically outwitting you, and Stephen has done exactly what he did. He just said, "Go on, you try and play out." We couldn't have that ball in. We couldn't play it around. So something Val's going to have to work on. My mate Sam Yuko, who's gone off to he's doing a transfer for LA Galaxy fan channel. So good luck, Sam. But he tweeted a good stat about our away record in 2023. We've won 1 in 11, I think. So it's a bit of an issue at the moment, and it's something we're going to have to get over. And for the travelling fans who are paying their money, we need some limbs to start celebrating. So I'm not sure what we've got away. Coventry is going to be a tough game for our next away day, I think, but it's something that we need to address pretty quickly.
Go on, Andy.
Was that one win New Year's Day against Norwich?
I think it might be a I'm just going to clarify that.
Wow. We had away wins, Huddersfield and Wigan. I think that was before the turn of the year last season, and they were pretty grim away wins. But I think, Norwich.
So the very first time we could win away. So we had 100% record at some point in 2023 for away wins.
Oh my word. Oh my word. I think it might be Norwich away. Goodness me.
We had no midfield.
Wow. Play every week.
Is that? I don't know. Maybe it's I don't know. Well, that is amazing. What was I going to say? Yes, Bio. That was it. What this situation? Because I've just seen a comment from Will, and I'd like to hear what you have to say. Will, thanks for all the comments tonight, mate. Bio plays with a lot of arrogance, considering he's fighting for his place. I think he could offered a lot more a few times as Spirit and Dave came. Chatfordetsy came. They had no options. Now, Andy, just away from Bayer for a moment, the number 9 situation, how much of a difference do you think a new number 9 would actually make?
I think we would have beaten Plymouth if we had a proper number 9. I don't think about yesterday. I just don't think we were at the races. But having that focal point, when we had someone like Troy Deeney, it was a presence up top. And mentally before the game, I think that does put a bit of fear into an opposition side psychologically as well. If Plymouth came to, obviously Troy's way past it, but if Plymouth came whilst Troy was in his prime and they're like, damn, we've just been promoted and facing up against Troy Deeney, he scored 60 goals in the last 3 championship seasons. There comes that fear element. We know we've got someone who can finish a chance when he's given it. Whereas at the moment, we don't have that recognised personnel to put that sort of psychological edge on it even before the game. And during the game, I've never been convinced by Bayo. His first touch was awful yesterday. His hold-up play wasn't good. And if we decided to bypass the midfield and just play it direct, we weren't holding the ball up enough to bring the midfield in. I think he'll get you some tap-ins throughout the season. I think he'll be in the right place at the right time on a few occasions. But there were times yesterday, certainly in the second half, where we were getting in behind the defence. And on the odd occasion, we did put a half-decent ball in the box. He wasn't anticipating. He wasn't gambling. He's not that kind of player. I think a lot of his goals have kind of come from sort of fortunate kind of situations. Like he scored against Stoke last season, the ball somehow made it round to the back post and he was there to tap it in. He ran on to get a tap in against QPR on the opening day. You know, his goal against Middlesbrough was a deflected shot and he happened to be in the right place at the right time. That sort of thing. It's not I don't see a great deal of sort of anticipation that the really great strikers have. You know, you have prolific goal scorers in the Championship. Timu Pukki, for example, always was able to find space and able to create that chance for himself. Matty Vidra, we've been spoiled by great Championship strikers in the last decade. And I don't quite see that with Bayo. So that, like Charlie said, that number 9 is a real sort of key thing for me. We get that, and I appreciate, you know, costs money, and we don't have a lot of that. But I think if we get a decent striker, we could be on to something pretty good this season.
I agree. I don't think there's many. It's literally a couple of tweaks, and I think we're on something, as you say, pretty decent. I mean, to play devil's advocate, Charlie, did we play to Bayo's strengths yesterday? Is all I'd say. Because whilst I think Andy's spot on there about sort of what Bayo can offer to this team, I mean, the chances we created for him were minimal, in fairness. And whilst his movement off the ball, it wasn't great, as Andy said, his touch wasn't great. We didn't give him a lot, if we're honest. I mean, I can't remember. Did he have a shot?
No, he hasn't had a shot. We'll get to some stats.
We'll get just the number 9 in general. Are we playing to it? Do you think it's a case of Val's looked at it and gone, I've looked at Bayo's the option. Clearly, Healy's only going to come on if he's playing it with a 2 up front. He's looked at Bayo and gone, I could change tactically to fit in Bayo and maybe get him more opportunities. But does he want to lose all the work that he's worked on with his team and the way he wants to play just to accommodate Bayo, if that makes sense? Because it feels like we weren't really playing to his strengths, which is, as Andy says, a bit more instinctive in the box, getting him in that 18-yard box and just going, Bayo, get a shot away or whatever. Were we giving him anything in his defence?
Maybe, but of what I've seen the first 2 games, I don't see as a team where we're like a West Ham and at every opportunity we're going to get crosses in for him to attack with towering headers. Like, I think the positives I've seen from Bayo in the first 2 games has been he's quite dynamic in his high press and creating chances. And I didn't see a lot of that yesterday, I don't think. And I think the team weren't making the patterns that we've had out wide and driving to the box and getting the short crosses in. But I think one thing that last season, which frustrated a lot of people, but I quite liked Keenan Davis for sometimes he would drop deep to get involved. And sometimes you see it, get the ball turn and start running. He would get involved in a game if the game wasn't coming to him, which was probably 90% of the time. And I quite like that from Keenan. A lot of people say that strikers should just stay in the box, but Bayo he wasn't getting involved. He was just kind of floating around the box, waiting for something to happen. Like Andy said, that you can't get a Mario Gaspar deflected shot just coming to your path at every game. So, yeah, it's frustrating. I think he's a confidence player, and I think his confidence knocked after missing the chances that he has this season. So, yeah, frustrating one. But, yeah, I think it's clear to say Val's not shy in saying we need that number 9 and we need it as soon as possible.
Healy's a weird one, though, as well. That is a weird situation. I mean, if you're Healy, Andy, you're sitting on the bench. We mentioned how Bayo didn't really have a lot of influence on yesterday's game. And we've got a striker on the bench who's actually got a pretty good record. Granted, he's just come back from an ACL injury. Surely roll the dice and he's got to be given a go. And this is by no means criticising Val, by the way, but I'm just seeing it from Healy's point of view going, he must be thinking, what have I got to do to get on?
Absolutely. You're a striker. Like you want to get on, you want the glory, you want to score the goals, right? And whilst you want what's best for the team, but you've had to sit and watch a 0-0 in a game where we could have run out sort of 4-5-0 winners, in all honesty, whereby Bayo's missed the best chance of the game with 10 minutes to go, 1-on-1, thinking, right, you know, there's a slot for me here in this squad. And then you've had to sit and watch Stoke, and yeah, he didn't get many chances, but also just wasn't, like Charlie said, wasn't as dynamic. And you think at that point, he's not our number 9. Like he's not a guaranteed starter. Why can't Healy have a go? So I'd be starting to question it. It's only sort of a couple of games where, you know, we're only 3 games into the season. So it's only sort of been a couple of games where that's been the case. But if the same happens at Blackburn, then I'd be Monday morning, if I'm Healy and I've still not stepped on foot on the pitch, I'm knocking on Val's door, being like, come on, just give me a go. Like,
You'd be a great man to knock on Val's door.
Yeah.
Wow. Would you? I wouldn't mess with Val, to be fair. And actually, someone I know did the QPR game on the first game of the season, and he was in the press conference, and he spoke to Val in the mix zone afterwards, and he said he is the scariest manager he's ever met in his life. Like, apparently, he just towers over everyone, and he's in good shape as well. Laura in the comment section. So apparently, Val said to Andrew French that he wants Healy to build up confidence about his fitness post-injury, which makes sense. And Will says the same thing. Healy's still a bit off fitness-wise, which I don't understand why we put him on the bench, which is an interesting.
Came on against Stevenage, didn't he?
He did, yeah. And actually, decent header, to be fair. Do you know what I'm talking about, Charlie? He was like kind of off balance a little bit. Weird one, isn't it, though, Charlie? I mean, a little bit. I think Val mentioned it in the build-up about how we've got quite a small squad this year, which works two ways, right? On the one hand, you've got quite a together group, a group that's going to be competitive with each other, going to be fighting for their position. The morale's going to be up in the sense that they all believe that they can get an opportunity to play. On the other hand, from his perspective, if we get 2 or 3 more injuries a week, we're going to be a little bit light, which does suggest that we should be slightly more active in the transfer window to bring a couple in, would you say? Just in the case of particularly the striker position, right?
Yeah, like I'm still that injury hit season that we had last season. I remember that game before. It was Norwich when we just had like 10 players out or something like that. And if we did that with this squad, I get the thinking about 2 players in every position, but very high risk. So we've already seen Sierralta taking a knock. James Morris went off injured in Ngakia. So they're already picking up injuries. So yeah, I think it'd be sensible to get some bodies in, because you know how long a championship season is. And if we're playing this intense football that Val's demanding, which we've all liked, or that seems to be the case, then you'd have thought we're bringing some bodies in. There's only, less than 2 weeks. I don't know if they've just got that plane ticket from Udinese already and they're going to put on it.
Wouldn't be surprised, though.
I think that comment about wanting him to build up confidence is interesting. I'm studying physiotherapy at the moment, and I've seen a lot of ACL rehabs, and confidence is a massive thing. I think the difference between coming on against Stevenage and coming on against Stoke is the intensity. I didn't watch the Stevenage game. I wasn't there. But it's just the League Cup and people kind of take it a little bit easier. Whereas Stoke, you're obviously away from home. It's a much more sort of physical battle. But on the flip side, if that is the case, then why put him on the bench in the first place? And why not have someone like Toby Adeyemo, for instance, taking up a spot? So it's an interesting one, but confidence is a huge thing in terms of sort of ACL rehab, because the amount of people that are genuinely quite scared about doing it again, and the sort of re-rupture rate can be quite high. So you've got to be really careful with something like an ACL.
Yeah, for sure. And also Collins was on the bench from the academy yesterday. Would have been a decent roll of the dice. Anyway, Charlie, I've kept you waiting long enough. Give us the stats breakdown. Charlie's Zazzera stats.
Yeah, no, we just wanted to play around and see if we can add some context to kind of when we're talking about games. And if you guys like it, let us know. If you think it's rubbish, let us know. We'll take your feedback on anyway. So I just wanted to run through a few stats, which I thought was quite interesting from yesterday's game. This is a website called SofaScore. It's really handy, so free to use. Make sure you go on there if you're interested in this kind of thing. These are the general stats. I actually thought our XG was going to be higher than theirs, especially with the Espria chance, but they just beat our XG. We had more possession. I think that was from the second half, trying to build and trying to create more. They had more shots. But the stats I wanted to kind of focus on were the shot map. And you can see here our different shots. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4 inside the box. Wesley Hoot, Espria, which I think is a big chance, and I think Yasser Espria's that's one of his game. He's got to kind of start to be more cool in the box. I'm not sure if the header was a good chance. It kind of came at him quickly, but And then you can see all of our other shots are kind of from distance. So it just goes to show that we're not creating enough in the areas that really count. And there's nothing there of Bio. So that was something that I thought was quite interesting. And then I kind of wanted to, without digging him out too much, but it kind of goes for the conversation we've had about Bio. You can see his heat map there, kind of a bit everywhere. His strongest heat map's near the centre circle. Obviously, no goals, assists. And then the kind of worrying stats were more the ground duels. He won 4 out of 7. Aerial duels, he won 2 out of 7. Possession lost 8 times. So I think Jacob's right in saying we didn't play to his strengths, but I think he's a massive confidence player, which I think you could sell there that Bio's kind of, he needs to get that goal to get his confidence up. And finally, I wanted to end on a bit of a positive, really, and was the momentum bar. I'll just see if I can zoom in a bit more here. So this is the momentum bar, and it kind of shows which way the game's going as the game's unfolding, obviously first half through to right half. And that was my big takeaway from yesterday's game, is after we conceded, which I'm guessing might be here or just here, we were much the better team. We were the ones probing, and I don't think we'd have got this reaction a lot from last season. And I thought, although we didn't make that many clear-cut chances, we were definitely asking the questions. And if Espria scores, I thought Chatfordetzi did quite well when he broke into the box a couple of times. Probably not a penalty, but we were making things happen. So I was quite pleased the way we ended the game, and that was my big positive from the game. What do you guys think about that?
Go on, Andy.
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting. I'm not surprised by Bayo's stats, and well, I'm not surprised by his stats from yesterday, but I am surprised that he's a tall guy and he's strong. I'm surprised by his hold up play. I feel like that should be a better part of his game. Aerially, he doesn't jump. He doesn't go for headers when it's like just a clearance from Backman or from Porteous, etc. He'll go for it in the box, but his headings, when the ball's played up to him, he doesn't challenge for them. And if he does, he's just jumping up. He's looking at the player. He's not looking at the ball. So that really surprises me, because I feel like he can add that to his game. I think he's got the physicality and the build to be able to be pretty good at that. The amount of times he lost possession was incredibly frustrating. So many times he'd try and yesterday he tried sort of a first time pass to lay it off. It wouldn't find his man, or he'd try and bring it down, and his touch was poor, so it allowed Stoke to regain possession. So ball retention in the first half was pretty awful, to be honest. But yeah, doesn't surprise me. I mean, we all have off days, don't we? It's never going to be perfect every single game. But I think he is a massive confidence player, and like Charlie mentioned earlier, if he sticks that chance away against Plymouth towards the end of the game, I don't know. Do we see a slightly more confident Bayo going into this one? I'm not sure. We'll never know. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me, sadly.
You also had the fewest touches of any player who started the game. But let's stop bashing Bayo.
No, well, the one thing, just to wrap up that chat about Bayo, it's a really good point about what Andy made there. With Plymouth, I mean, he came on the back of a goal at QPR, goal against Stevenage. I mean, confidence-wise, it seems like the chart.
Jacob, think about the miss at Stevenage. Think about the misses.
This is what I'm saying. I think his confidence is more based off his chances that he misses rather than goals than he scores, which is interesting, because most strikers are like, well, I'm getting in the positions. It's going to come. It's going to come. It seems like as soon as he misses one, his head is just not there. But look, there we go. That a really good wrap up of sort of the statistics there from Charlie. The one thing I wanted to just mention about that momentum bar, you saw the difference when Val made his substitution, which I think is definitely something that I've taken away from how his management, which was a big frustration for me under Roy, under Ranieri. I mean, the list goes on. Some of the managers would just not make a change. And Charlie, we mentioned when we were speaking to the Barnes and the West Brom fans about sort of what to expect from him. And it was 3 subs at 60 minutes, which he's kept to. But it's not just the front 3 now. He's looking at the midfield. He's looked at other areas. How encouraged are you about that? Because I think that's, even if we do lose like yesterday, at least the managers try to influence or impact the game, which for me, that's what they're being paid to do. And even with, as I mentioned at the top of the show, the team talks, there was one on like 20 minutes when there was a break with Hoot going down. There's one in the second half. I think there was another injury. But, for me, that is, I don't think there's a lot more he can do than that in that respect.
Yeah, I think he's been proactive. And I think every time he's made those changes, I think it's always been positive and translated onto the pitch. And you got to remember, football's a squad game. So you got to keep, 10 players unhappy most weeks. So the fact that he's giving all these guys minutes, he's going, go on, you think you deserve to start, prove it. They're all getting half an hour spells and they're all getting good chances, I think. Like, talked about Zazzera Spear. Tom Ince made his debut yesterday. I think Chatfordetsky got more towards his QPR game than his Plymouth game yesterday. I thought he was quite bright. Kone, again, it's just, he does one thing good and then another thing he can't complete it. So
frustrating.
I like it from Val. Like I said earlier, I think the one thing that I would have kept Loser on, because I think we've got few players who can make a difference, so I would have kept that quality on. But I personally like what I've seen from Val being proactive. Andy, what do you think about Val so far? And do you like the cut of his jib?
Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking that we said, we have a bit of identity. We know how this Watford side kind of want to play. I like that he gets all the players over when he gets a chance. I agree. I like that he's being proactive rather than reactive. Be interesting to see what happens if we ever go like sort of 2-0 down, and if we go 2-0 down in the first half, for instance, whether he makes those changes straight at half time or sticks to his sort of religious sort of 60-minute triple sub. A couple of subs I felt have kind of been for the sake of doing a sub. Like you say, I feel like Loser should have stayed on yesterday, and Martins as well. I was enjoying him. So it's kind of felt sometimes he's made triple subs for the sake of making a triple sub rather than, maybe we only need one or two changes in this instance. But overall, I'm pleased. I'm enjoying it. It's almost refreshing in a way to sort of be a bit positive about a manager at the start of a new tenure. So I'm content.
I think that's a nice way of describing it. I mean, one thing I would say, and I did on our 3-word reviews, you get some good ones. You get some really, really good stuff. And someone did reply, Gino's getting twitchy. Charlie, we've got the nibble. Yeah, no, I mean, look, what I would say, that is a bit over the top. Look, moving on to the comment section. Someone said, "Is that Jack Bonham?" That is the Jack Bonham. He was on the bench for Stoke yesterday. Not sure why Pollock wasn't given a game when Morris went off. Now, there was a link today about Pollock potentially going to Barnsley. Charlie, I don't think we're in a position, are we, to get rid of a player at the moment?
Absolutely not. Siralt has already got injured. If Porto gets injured, Pollock straight back in. I actually quite like the change when Morris went injured. Sema went back to left back and he brought Zazzera Spear on, didn't he? Yes, got in his position, which I think most fans be crying out. And I think Ken did pretty well in the left back spot. He's pretty reliable. So, I didn't mind it. You don't know I don't know how much Pollock's played as a right back per se. You can't imagine him driving on. I know he's played as part of a back three. So I didn't mind that sub. But like I said, I really like Matty Pollock, and it takes one injury for him to get his opportunity. And you never know, he could play that game, have a stormer, and he could hold his place. So, yeah, we've got a thin squad. So unless we've got people coming in, I don't think we can get people leaving at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. There one topic I wanted to touch on, as Andy mentioned, was about Hoot and Poto. Andy, it's been a while since we've had a centre-back pairing where, number one, you can actually predict it before we before the lineups come out, and number two, a centre-back partnership that actually they complement each other quite well. I mean, who has this obsession with a slide tackle? I mean, I can't remember the last man to honestly reach out for as many slide tackles as that man. Like, there's sometimes I watch him and he's sprinting down the line, and you think, who, you can just kind of just tap this out, mate. You don't need to go to... No, we're taking the man into Rosehead. But Porto as well, I always say, Porto, John Eustace walked so Porto could run. But one thing, just that partnership in general. What have you made of it so far?
Yeah, I think you're right. The last time we'd probably had two guaranteed starters at centre back. Off the top of my head, probably Martin Tyler and Nyron Nosworthy.
What a
The
shout!
boys.
What a combo that was.
I did not expect that, but that is a blast from the past.
What a combo! Wow. I'm really enjoying it. What pleased me yesterday was the number of blocks that we made sort of on the edge of the area. The number of people who are sort of putting their body out of the way, or in the way rather, to block the shot. You know, Hoot had to go down because I think he just got a whack in the face at some point. But that sort of level of commitment, Porto's diving for headers. I think honestly, Porto would be a great striker because do you remember Van Persie's goal for Spain, for Netherlands against Spain in the World Cup? I reckon Porto could do that. I 100% reckon
at least 5 a season.
Yeah, he loves a diving header. But just that the communication, the teamwork, and the level of commitment that they're kind of showing. Like you say, Hoot's diving in. One of these days, he's going to get one of those tackles wrong. But I'll take that. If he does 99 of them right and one of them wrong, I'll take the previous 99 for that one wrong. One wrong one. But yeah, it's refreshing. It's nice to know that. We've got 2 guaranteed sort of centre-back starters. I do get worried if one of them does get injured. I don't really know who. I mean, obviously you put Serralta there, but then hopefully that wouldn't be too much kind of confusion if Serralta is consistently playing that holding midfield role to then just slot back in central defence. And the good thing is then we've got a bit of height as well. That's what I've really liked about Serralta. I've always felt like in the last sort of decade, Watford have actually been quite an average height, like quite a short team, bar maybe Sebastian Prodel. Beautiful man, by the way. What a guy. And so having Serralta in that holding midfield role in front of Wes has given us a lot more height. So we don't have just one; we have two players there who can win aerial duels pretty comfortably when balls are played up long. So it's good. I'm enjoying it. I'm hoping that it blossoms into a beautiful bromance between the two, and we see them on holiday together in the summer next year in Zanzibar.
Can I ask? And I know everyone's high on Porto and Wesley, and rightly so. I think that on the whole they've been great. But watching back the goal, I don't know who you guys think's to blame. But if I'm being super critical, it'd be interesting, like. Wesley Hoot kind of gets drawn out and he goes into a space where no one's there. That other big Wesley, who we almost signed, kind of draws Porto out. And that's where the ball goes in and Livermore's kind of scrambling to get back. To be fair to the kid, it's a great strike. Can't take that away from him. And if Asprilla had that strike, it'd probably be a draw. But they're not perfect. I think we're on the right path and I'm praising them as much as possible. But we've got to be. It shows a lot that the fact that I think Wesley Hoot's got the highest rating on this, and we're all saying how good they are, but they're not perfect. But that just shows to me the players on the top end of the pitch need to do their job better because these guys are fighting fires. It's a bit like Lionesses, Mary Earp saving penalties, and do you know what I mean? You need the girls up the top to do the stuff. So yeah, I think really good foundation.
I was literally about to use that very word. It's a great foundation to sort of build on, isn't it? And we've got that sort of semi-right. It's a good starting point. There's definitely people were saying a lot on social media before the season started about how many players we've got rid of, and it kind of needed to happen. And our squad's quite thin, and it is. But actually, my perspective going into the season, that core sort of starting 11 was actually a pretty solid Championship side. I thought don't get me wrong, I wasn't expecting top 2, wasn't expecting playoffs, but actually not a bad Championship squad. Obviously weak in some areas, right back in sort of particular, and centre forward. But on the whole, it's not awful. People were predicting us to really struggle, or some people were predicting us to really struggle. But actually, we got some good Championship players. Not brilliant, but a solid Championship team there, which we definitely build on. Yeah.
We say top half players we've got.
Easily. Yeah, easily. I think loser walks into most championship sides.
Yeah, easy.
Quite easily.
Jacob, before we do the player ratings, I wanted to ask a bit about yesterday, which kind of I think Will in the comments mentioned it. But what did you make? And this season, if you guys haven't seen, we've been trying out doing final full-time final whistle voice notes. On Twitter, and I listened to the one I did back yesterday, and you could hear some booing from the away end. Jacob, were you booing, and what do you think of it?
So I wasn't booing. Initially, I thought it was hoot. And then I would quickly realise when I looked over and these two lads would just go, that it was booing and it wasn't Wesley who. Look, what I won't say to anyone how you should feel after a game like that, to be honest. Personally, I wouldn't boo. I don't really boo. I've never seen the sort of like point of it myself. I don't want to speak on behalf of people, but I'd imagine some people felt frustrated yesterday that it was a little bit like a game we saw last season, and a lot of games last season kind of panned out the way they did yesterday. Now, I think we played better than we did in some games like that last season, but it was the similar sense of quite a poor, lacking in quality first half. The second half, yeah, we did pick up some pace and play some better stuff, but I think that I can understand the frustration. I was frustrated coming out because I thought we could have got something from that game. But I don't think it's helpful. I don't think it's fair on Ishmael. I don't think it's fair on the players. And ultimately, it's going to be a process. Look, we wanted a rebuild at Watford. Now, there is only so much of a rebuild you can get on Gino Pozzo because you're under the same owners. But what I will say is, if you want a rebuild to happen, you're going to have to give it time. And games like yesterday will happen at the start of a rebuild, in my opinion. So I think justifiable if that game's happening Christmas time and we're seeing the same sort of not mistakes, but same sort of first halves like we did yesterday. But what I wasn't a fan of it myself. But yeah, as I say, everyone's entitled to show their support how they would. Andy, have you ever been a booer?
No, but I think that's just me. I agree. Like, you can't, people pay their money, they can kind of react how they want. I didn't think the performance was that bad yesterday. First half obviously wasn't great, but like that's always going to happen. Yeah. Like there's always going to be performances like that. And if we boo every bad performance Watford ever have, we'd have no vocal cords left by like November.
This is like the thing.
That's what an Everton fan's being called. That's what it's like being an Everton fan.
So, like, it's just take it with a pinch of salt. We're going to lose games, and yeah, we maybe should have got a better first half yesterday. We should have got something out of that game, but it's completely different from last season, because last season, say the Cardiff home game, for instance, we go a goal down and then heads just drop, and it was awful. There was nobody trying, nobody communicating, nobody leading in that team last season. Whereas yesterday, we had decent chances. If Asprilla puts his shot away, we get a point away from home. We possibly get a penalty as well. We actually got in behind. We actually created some half-decent chances, and we kept going. Stoke saw the game out pretty well, to be fair. They managed it well. And Watford, I think we've always been quite a naive team, I think. Always just really silly little fouls in the final sort of 10 minutes that kind of allow the opposition to keep the ball and not allow us not to get forward. But they actually tried. Like, that's all you can kind of ask for. You're not, Man City didn't win every game last season.
Yeah.
You're going to boo. And as I was walking out, one fan was chanting, Gino Pozzo out. And I'm just thinking, like, would you be saying that if we'd won that game? Is it you're just reacting? This is the problem with football, is it's a very emotional kind of support, and people don't take time to sort of just reflect on what they've seen. And it's a very emotional sort of instant response to how they react to things. And when you take a step back, you've had a sleep, you've watched the highlights, you think, actually, another day we could have won that game. We weren't awful. Stoke weren't great, but c'est la vie. Maybe I'm just too casual and too relaxed about it all. But
I think that's a really good way of looking at it.
I think there's still a bit of a kind of a slight malaise from last season before, and people have got in the habits of they've travelled up from London, they've probably spent a lot of money, and just that feeling of we've lost, I've spent loads of money to get here, and you just feel a bit shortchanged. So I get what people are saying, but I just can't see it being constructive. And like you said, just take a pause, kind of think about, well, you're entitled to do what you want, but we need to get behind this team as much as possible because these results are going to come. And if we get on the back, I can't see any benefit from it.
Well,
Sorry,
it's just normal now for Watford fans to boo, isn't it? You know, I reckon we could win 10 games in a row and we'll still be booing just by sheer. It's ingrained in our system. 3-0 to Watford. Boo! Oh,
the thing is,
sorry.
I think you make a really good point, Andy. The fact that if you had said to me at the start of the season, all 3 games have seen this. We've had a team that's worked hard. We've had a team that's tried to do what the managers asked them to do. And we've had a team that's, on the whole, played on the front foot. Look, you're going to win games. You're going to lose games. We're not going to win every single game ever in the history of football. So, for me, I'm taking the rough with the smooth at the moment. Whether ask you that question maybe in December when it's on Boxing Day and I'm at home with a Bovril watching us get absolutely spanked, it might be a different story. But on the whole, yeah, I completely agree with you guys. One thing I wanted to do, so we've got a little bit of time left. Should we do quick fire play ratings? Have we got time? Quick fire, right, Andy? Finger on the buzzer. I know you're a man who loves a quiz, but this is going to be quick.
Player ratings. Go on.
So, and also, what you think? Don't go on, whatever else is thinking. Not that I'm going to, put ratings in your mouth. Okay, kicking it off with this is a bit of a interesting one to start. Charlie Backman.
6 out of 10. I thought it was fine. Maybe a couple of wayward passes, but I think he made 1 or 2 saves. But yeah, 6.
Okay.
5.
Well, do you know what? We'll do 1 player each, but at least we know we've got a rating of 5.5. Andy, Ryan Andrews.
6.
Why?
Because I thought he struggled a bit in the first half, but then second half got in behind the defence a little bit more and got a few crosses in, but not the best game.
Okay. He needs to shoot earlier. He's getting great positions, and he always wanted so bloody cool. He's like, I want to take a touch. I'm going to have the perfect strike. Just shoot. Anyway, sorry, these quick fire ratings aren't going too far.
He has got a lovely strike on his technique is really nice, Andrews. Yeah. I just get it sure. Porto, I'm going to give 7. Pretty solid. Thought with who? I don't know. Obviously, we mentioned the goal, but I thought his overall performance was solid. Wesley Hoot, Charlie?
7.
I mean, without them, we would concede a lot more chances, I have to say. I know this is what I said about the goal, just quickly. Whilst the goal, you could, if we're being honest, they probably could have done better. There were a lot of times where you thought those 2 lads bailed us out on quite a few occasions when you thought, could there be something developing with the Stoke attack? So I think that's a fair round. Moving on. James Morris, 45 minutes. Not great.
Yeah. Well, he got injured, didn't he? So we'll give him a 5.
Val was on him, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw. He was like really in his ear, sort of like getting tired to him. Jake Livermore, number 8. It's not going to be an 8. It's going to be a. It's going to be 5, 4.
Go on, say 4. You wanted to say 4.
4.
That was your
okay, it's a 4. Yeah, I've gone 4. Tom Deli-Bashiru, Charlie.
5.
Yeah, he
didn't have a lot to do, did he? Yesterday, Tom. He seemed pretty non-existent. Like I said, I think the game kind of bypassed him, but didn't seem to get on the ball at all, make things happen. Didn't see any press, so probably a 5. Didn't see any glaring mistakes either.
Imran Loser, Andy.
6. Bit absent in the first half, but still one of our better players when he got on the ball.
I'm going to take Mateus Martins. I thought he was quite poor yesterday, Martins. I think I'm going to give him a 4.5. I thought he was poor, personally. I think because we've seen how well he can play. Now I'm basing it off that, to be honest, and he didn't do a lot. So
he cuts in so many times on his right, and he doesn't attempt to sort of bend it into the far corner. He's done that so many times. It's
so frustrating. I know. It's so because he's clearly got the ability. But sorry, I'm digressing. We'll go with next man on the right-hand side, Ken Semmer, who played left-back in the end, obviously.
I'll probably give him a 6. I thought he was pretty solid. He had a decent strike. I thought he'd done well. I thought he coped pretty admirably when he went to left-back. So 6 for King Ken.
Moving on to, I've given you the Crow, Bayo, Andy.
4.5. Not his day.
No. Substitutions, we had Tom Ince, Kone, Chakvedetsi, Aspria, Kiembe. I'll take Aspria, probably the one who can be rated, definitely. I thought he looked bright when he came on. I'd probably give him a 6.5. Thought he looked to make things happen coming off the right. Should have scored, so probably we'll put that to a 6, actually. He should have scored, shouldn't he? I mean, that was glaring. Charlie, out of the other substitutions, anyone you feel deserves a rating? I think Kiembe came on, did okay, but probably wasn't long for Chakvedetsi.
Yeah, I thought he looked brighter than he did against Plymouth. He was quite central. I think I like him central because he gets the ball and just tries to beat man. He gets fouled. He reminds me of it. Yeah, I prefer him central than that wide, I think. A bit more unpredictable. So I'll give him a shout out. But these player ratings aren't as fun when we're not winning, are they?
No, I mean, Andy, do you know what? We'll give you Valerie and Ismail. That's always a good one.
Ismail. Okay. Well, I think he set us up right, and I think the changes he made were positive. There was definitely a reaction in the second half. I'd give him a 6.5. I don't think he could have done much more.
Yeah,
so 6.5, 7. And then comes down to the players on the pitch.
Yeah, fair. Fans, Charlie?
The fans? Yes, solid. I think we had a good turnout, didn't we?
I'm just going to name the Stoke Catering, the Journey, Bet Pubs.
I'll give the fans a 7, but I think the team could have done a bit more to give us something to sing and celebrate. So I'll give the fans a 7. Yeah.
Decent turnout was 1,300. Pretty decent turnout. I'm going to rate Stoke, the stadium. Was it the Bet365 now? I'm going to put it in the Reading category, which is poor. I'm not even going to give it a rating, to be honest. No, it's okay. I'll give it a 4 as an away day. Maybe less, actually. Maybe 3. Sorry, Stoke. Moving on to just predictions for Blackburn. Next game, it's at 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which is
TV.
It's TV, yeah, and then it's Super Sunday, so it kicks off with a bit of Watford, and then so you progress to the Premier League teams. Predictions, Andy?
Well, Blackburn lost yesterday, didn't they? And they had a man sent off. I think we'll nick it 2-1.
2-1, Charlie.
3-2, Watford.
Do you know, mate, we need to sort our predictions out, by the way, because every time I've picked a win, we haven't done very well. I'm actually going to say we draw 2-2. Surin said we'll beat Blackburn, same as Luton. That's a good point. It could be a 4-0. 12 p.m. on a Sunday. Might not have the same edge as that one, but there we go. Andy, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. Really do appreciate it. Phenomenal debut of the 23-24 season. I'm sure we'll
been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we've got to get you back on again, mate. Absolutely natural. Charlie, pleasure as always. Do you know what? Andy filled the Sam Yuko void phenomenally. Probably the best substitution of yesterday and today.
I'm not a scholar, Sam.
We were proactive in our subs
back.
We brought Andy over to the touchline. Come on, Andy. Proactive with the sub. Yeah, Andy, what a pleasure. Thanks so much. Make sure you do check his page out in the comment section below, and obviously his at's just below him, and you can check us out on WD18 Fan, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoy. It really helps us out. Subscribe, turn on your post notifications so you never miss an upload. If you want to see me in Stoke yesterday, then check out the Matchday TikTok with my father, which is good fun. Fun fact, we found 4 Peronis just lying there on the train. That was the highlight of the day, actually, to be completely honest. But there we go. Take care of yourself. Have a lovely week, guys. And yeah, see you very soon. Up the Hornets. You want?